Let's start at the beginning. The Usual Suspects was directed by Bryan Singer, a young filmmaker who was just 27 years old when he helmed this project. Singer had made waves with his debut feature, Public Access, which won the Grand Jury Prize at the 1993 Sundance Film Festival. That's where he first crossed paths with Kevin Spacey, who would become a key player in this film. Singer's style is all about tight storytelling, suspenseful pacing, and visual flair that keeps you on the edge of your seat. If you've seen his later works, like the X-Men films, you know he has a knack for building tension in ensemble casts, and this movie is where that talent really shone through early on. The screenplay comes from Christopher McQuarrie, who was Singer's childhood friend and collaborator. McQuarrie poured his heart into this script, drawing from real-life inspirations that make the story feel grounded yet wildly inventive. The title itself? It nods to a classic line from the 1942 film Casablanca, where Claude Rains' character says, "Round up the usual suspects." Singer spotted that phrase in a Spy magazine column and thought it screamed movie title. McQuarrie, who worked in a law firm before breaking into Hollywood, named many characters after his former colleagues, like Hockney, Fenster, and even the enigmatic Kaiser Soze. Speaking of Soze, that name has fascinating roots. Kaiser comes from McQuarrie's old boss, Kaiser Sume, and Soze means talk too much in Turkish, which ties perfectly into the film's themes of deception and narration. The story's core idea evolved from an unpublished screenplay McQuarrie had about a man who vanishes after a heinous act, inspired by the real-life case of John List, a New Jersey accountant who murdered his family in 1971 and disappeared for nearly 18 years. McQuarrie blended that with the concept of a ragtag group of criminals thrown together by fate, or something more sinister. Development wasn't easy. The script's nonlinear structure, heavy dialogue, and lack of big stars made it a tough sell. Early financing came from a European company, but it fell through, and Polygram Filmed Entertainment stepped in to make it happen. Produced by Singer and Michael McDonnell, with companies like Spelling Films involved, this was a passion project that proved indie filmmaking could pack a punch. Now, why should you watch it? Because The Usual Suspects is a masterclass in suspense. It's got that rare quality where every scene feels purposeful, building layers of intrigue that make you question everything. The dialogue crackles with wit and menace, the performances are electric, and the cinematography pulls you into a gritty, noir-inspired world. If you've seen his later works, like the X-Men films, you know he has a knack for building tension in ensemble casts, and this movie is where that talent really shone through early on. The budget, just $6 million. Yeah, you heard that right. In an era when big films were ballooning into tens of millions of dollars, Singer and his team shot this in only 35 days. That's efficiency. They filmed primarily in Los Angeles, California, with key locations in San Pedro for those atmospheric dock scenes, and even some shots in New York City to capture that urban grit. The production faced challenges like tight schedules and improvisational moments, but it all added to the film's raw energy. For instance, the actors were encouraged to ad-lib reactions, especially to Benicio del Toro's unique vocal choices for his character, which brought authentic confusion and humor to the scenes. The cast is a who's who of talent that elevates every moment. Leading the pack is Kevin Spacey as Roger Verbal Kent, a small-time con man with a limp and a gift for gab. Spacey, fresh off roles in films like Glengarry Glen Ross, asked to be in the movie before even knowing the full details. He trusted Singer that much. His performance is subtle, layered, and utterly captivating. It's a kind of role that sticks with you long after the credits roll.